So, serotonin, I bet you've heard of it. It's the mood molecule, right? Well, that's really just a tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. Today, we're going to dive into what this master molecule really does inside our brains.
So what is pulling the strings behind your mood, your sleep, and all your emotions? It's this incredibly complex chemical dance happening in your brain, and the tiny molecule serotonin is one of the lead choreographers.
All right, first up, serotonin, the mood molecule. Let's start with why it earned this famous reputation in the first place. It's known for influencing how we feel, but its actual job description, well, it's way bigger than just that.
Now, you might find this pretty surprising, but there are actually very few serotonin-producing neurons in your brain. They're mostly clustered in this tiny area of the brainstem called the Raphe nuclei. But from that little spot, they branch out and connect to nearly every single part of the forebrain. It's like a tiny command center with lines going out to the entire city.
And because of that incredible reach, serotonin acts as a master regulator for a huge range of functions. We're talking about the very rhythm of your life, your sleep and wakefulness cycles. It also fine-tunes your emotional states, your overall mental arousal, and of course, your mood and anxiety levels. It even tells you when you're full after a meal. It's a real multitasker, this molecule. So where does this powerful chemical even come from? Well, you might be surprised to learn its whole journey begins right there on your dinner plate.
Think of it like a really simple recipe. It all starts with tryptophan. That's an essential amino acid you have to get from food because your body can't make it. Once that's inside your neurons, an enzyme gets to work in a super important first step. Then after one more conversion, bam, you have serotonin.
And get this entire synthesis process happens right inside your neurons. You're literally turning a part of your last meal into a molecule that shapes how you experience the world. How cool is that?
Okay, so we've made the serotonin, now what? How does it actually do anything? Well, it's all about communication. One neuron sending a message to the next, using serotonin as its chemical messenger.
And the place where this conversation happens is called the synapse. It's not a physical connection, but an infinitesimally small gap between two neurons. Think of it as a microscopic communication channel where chemical messages have to leap from one side to the other.
The sending neuron is packed with these little bubbles full of serotonin. When it's time to send a signal, these bubbles release their serotonin into that synaptic gap. The serotonin then travels across that gap to deliver its message.
Now, once that message is delivered, you can't just leave all that serotonin hanging around in the synapse. The signal would never end. So the brain has a very efficient cleanup crew to handle this, and how it works is absolutely crucial.
So there are two main methods. The first, and the most important one for our story, is reuptake. A special protein called SERT, the serotonin transporter, acts like a tiny vacuum cleaner on the surface of the sending neuron. It just sucks the used serotonin back inside to be recycled and repackaged. The second method is degradation, where an enzyme called MAO breaks down any serotonin that the vacuum missed.
And right here, this is the crucial point. That reuptake mechanism, that little SERT vacuum cleaner, is the exact target for some of the most widely used drugs in modern medicine. Many antidepressants are SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They literally inhibit or block that vacuum. And here is the aha moment. By blocking that SSRT transporter, an SSRI like Prozac essentially turns off the vacuum cleaner. This leaves more serotonin floating in the synapse for a longer period, giving it more time to deliver its message to the receiving neuron. It boosts the signal. Understanding this basic brain plumbing makes the mechanism of these powerful drugs crystal clear.
But there's one last puzzle. If serotonin is just one molecule, how can it be involved in everything from sleep to mood to appetite? The answer? While serotonin is the key, the brain has many different locks, or what we call receptors.
Take a look at these two very different types of serotonin receptors. One type is activated by the psychedelic drug LSD, leading to its powerful effects on perception. A completely different type is blocked by anti-nausea drugs like Zofran. This means the same key, serotonin, can cause hallucinations or prevent vomiting, depending entirely on which lock it fits into.
So the big takeaway here is that serotonin itself doesn't have one single function. Its effect is defined by the receptor it activates. And with over a dozen different types of serotonin receptors identified, you can start to appreciate how this one chemical can have such a vast and varied influence on our brains and our bodies. From a simple amino acid in our food to a complex messenger that can shape our reality, the story of serotonin is a perfect example of the brain's incredible elegance. One chemical, one key, unlocking a multitude of different locks. It really makes you wonder,
What other secrets does our brain chemistry hold?